Hello and welcome to the No Easy Way Out podcast. My name is Tony Nash, and we are coming to you as always from the Armory in beautiful downtown Owasso, Michigan, home to my company, AZ Business Solutions, where we help grow your brand from A to Z. Now, I'm joined today by a lifelong friend of mine, Jeremiah Napier. Jeremiah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
I've known Jeremiah literally for pretty much his whole life. I'm a little bit older than him, but our parents are longtime friends. And so Jeremiah and I kind of grew up together. We went to school together, Christian school, so it didn't matter what grade we were in. We played basketball together. We've even been on a lot of family vacations together because, like I said, our parents are friends. And so we've known each other for a long time, and it's great to have you on the show. We're glad to have you here, Jeremiah. Why don't you tell our audience what you're up to these days?
I currently reside in Birmingham, Alabama, and I am a pastor down there. I'm from O-Town, like Tony said, and born and raised, and I'm back in the area. One, to sell my rental house that I have here, and two, to attend my sister's wedding. So my wife and I recently adopted a little girl from India.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
She's beautiful.
Oh, thanks, man. She's 1.5, and we've had her home for about a month and a half, and she's adapting to things greatly. So yeah, it's been a wild ride.
It's been a process. You guys have been working on this for a couple of years, right?
Yeah, they don't make it easy. It very expensive. Well over $40,000 to adopt it from over there, and it takes almost 2 years. So it's unbelievable that a child needs a family and needs somebody, and they make it so difficult and so much red tape, you know.
I'm sure. So around when you first started kind of the process, how long ago was that?
Yeah, we started the process about October of 2017, and then we just got her home last month. So yeah.
So literally almost 2 full years.
Almost two full years. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you've had her home now for about a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
How's she adapting to?
Yeah, it's weird because they speak Hindi there, so
Yeah.
she didn't understand even what we're saying.
Yeah.
So she's very clingy to her mom and I, which is very good because sometimes they're not. So she recognizes us as her parents. And we chose India because it came out as the most dangerous country for girls.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has the most orphan population.
Right.
So the need was very eminent. And so, but she's done really well. We've been home in a month and a half, and I want nothing to do that even smells like curry because everything over there was just laced in curry. And so, I'll get back to liking Indian food. It's a strong
smell. It's a strong smell.
Yeah.
I love Indian food. I have some Indian friends in upstate New York.
Yeah,
and I love Indian food. But yeah, I mean, that smell is very
well, for 17 days we were there.
Yeah, it's strong.
And it's in your eggs. It's everywhere. So I'll get back to liking Indian food, but I need a break for a while. So.
Well, the good thing is that she's only a year and a half old.
Yeah.
Even most year-and-a-half-olds don't understand anything you're saying anyway.
Sure.
So she'll be able to adapt quickly.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to meeting her. I haven't had a chance to meet her yet, but we're really excited. But we'll be at your sister's wedding this weekend. So now that we know a little bit more about you, let's talk a little bit about your journey. You were born and raised here in O-Town.
Yep.
You went to college for political science, actually worked for Senator Dave Camp for a while, and then ran for office locally. And you've had stories, adventures of going to Boston and New York and singing on the streets. And
that paid for our whole road trip. So my buddy and I were in college on break, and we decided we were going to take a road trip. And we would not eat. Only way we would live, eat, get a hotel, anything was what was put in our guitar case. So we took a road trip up through Toronto and down through Boston and New York and DC, and we made a killing. It was awesome. When we
Did you consider a career change at that time?
Yeah. In Boston, there was a wedding going on, and they were taking pictures in the park, and the dad said $100 each if you guys come over and play while we take pictures. And I was like, way to go, Pop. So
nice.
that was an adventure. That was a great one. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and then now you're pastoring in Alabama. So kind of tell our audience a little bit about your journey. I kind of briefly hit on some things, but kind of what brought you from where you started to how you ended up becoming a pastor.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was the plan a long time
ago.
No,
it was not. Absolutely not. No, I went to school for political science. And so actually, when I graduated, I didn't have a job in political science. I was working at Owasso Country Club. And I was sick of it. I was like, I want to get a job in my field. So I threw everything in my car, and I drove to D.C., and I walked the streets and put in the legwork, put out resumes, and talked to some people on Capitol Hill, and eventually got an unpaid internship with Dave Camp, and the congressman who used to represent Owasso. Got an unpaid internship, lived in the basement for 6 months of a friend of ours, Andrea and Dev, and taught guitar lessons at night through Craigslist to just get by.
Wow.
And then I worked my way up in D.C. To be a congressional aide, and then I decided I wanted to come back and run for office, and I was 24.
Wow.
So I ran for state representative at 24. And I
Made
lost.
some waves.
Yeah, I lost. Made some waves. Turned some heads. Lost. But the next day, I had 7, 8 calls from different congressmen, senators, representatives asking me to come work for them. So the impact was felt. And I tell young people trying to get involved, the 2 things that you need to do is be willing to work for free,
right,
and take the chance. Go run for office.
Don't take the easy way out.
Don't take the easy way out. Yeah, go run for office. If
Yeah.
you lose, you still make waves, and you get your name out there. You emerge as a leader automatically, and so that's what happened. And I worked for Congressman Dave Camp for several years, and I realized political realm was not for me. I really desired ministry, and to work in a church and everything like that. So again, in my fashion, I just quit and took off, and I'm going to go after that then. And my wife and I took a 1.5 month long road trip and just visited states and people and churches and wherever. And we're just going to see what God does. And a buddy of ours who we knew had just started a church in North Carolina. And so I went down, and I was like, I'm going to go help you. And so I led worship there for a year, and then moved to Alabama and took a church there in Alabama, in Birmingham, my wife's hometown. And I love what I do. Yeah. And that's what's the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
You know?
So what is your role there at the church exactly?
Yeah, I'm the associate pastor. So it's an interesting setup. The lead pastor preaches at the 11 o'clock service, and then every Sunday we provide a lunch for the community. And then after the lunch, I preach the 1 o'clock service.
Okay.
So that's how we kind of
giving
function.
you opportunity to preach as well, which a lot of times associate pastors don't get that many opportunities to preach. So.
Right. And when he go, like in September, he's going on sabbatical, and I will be covering everything. And so it is really, I mean, they threw me in pretty, right into it. So I also work with the youth, and I wear a lot of hats, and I just love it, Yeah.
So as you can tell, if you've listened to the story so far, Jeremiah is a very confident person. As long as I've known you, Jeremiah, you've had a confidence in yourself that you could do what you set your mind out to do. You wanted to run for office, so you just moved and went to D.C. You want to go on a road trip, you just drop everything and do it. You've always kind of believed that you could do something you set your mind to, which is not a quality that a lot of people have. And so where do you think that confidence comes from?
Confidence, some people just have it, and some people don't. But I believe everyone can be confident. So I think it can be either developed or you just have it. And for some reason, it is just in me. Yeah. And there's an unexplained. Everyone has different qualities. Some people are naturally funny. Some people are naturally serious, or some people are naturally intelligent. And my quality is confidence. And that's
very true.
Yeah.
I've always known that. Always recognized that in you, as long as, like I said, Jeremiah was like a younger brother to me at one point.
Yeah, for sure.
He was younger, but he always just had that confidence of the older brother. And so I've always appreciated that. But, a lot of times people that are confident get perceived by other people as arrogance. And I think there's a huge difference between confidence and arrogance. Yeah. And I think you possess confidence rather than arrogance. But I'm certain you've been accused of being arrogant. So what would you say is the difference between confidence and arrogance?
Yeah, growing up, I was arrogant. Many times there was a level of arrogance that came out. And when you are confident, periodically you can slip into arrogance. But really, arrogance is just exaggerated confidence in your mind.
Bravado, yeah.
Yeah, it's too much confidence in your mind.
Right.
And when you can't differentiate the two, when you can't differentiate who you truly are and what you truly look like to other people,
Right.
that understanding of how you're perceived, then you will be arrogant. And so it's the most important thing is to not be exaggerated in your mind.
Well, and I think that's especially true when you're young, because
yeah.
if you're young and you have confidence, older people don't often want to hear it. They don't want to see it. They want you to earn your stripes. They want you to put the time in. And so if you come into a room just kind of sure of yourself, people perceive that as, who's this arrogant kid? And some people are drawn to it, typically people that are in your same age category. But a lot of times people that are older just don't quite know how to perceive it. But I think on the other thing is, when you're young and confident, you don't really know how to express it yet.
Yeah.
You don't know how to pay your dues. You don't know how to just be the quiet guy in the room, because you feel like you have something to say, and you feel like you're doing yourself an injustice if you don't speak your mind. So I think that's something that people really struggle with. I mean,
I think you learn to develop your confidence in a lot of ways. But one key thing is, when you're truly confident, you don't have to speak. Like, naturally, you might be more outgoing or less outgoing. But if you're confident in something, you really don't even have to speak.
Right.
And confidence is interesting because
but you learn that with age, for
you
sure.
do.
You
and
don't,
that's
when you're young, you think you have to say
it. Just doesn't happen. And, I mean, it can be weird. I started pastoring at early 30s. When you have a 65-year-old and he's supposed to look to you for leadership,
right?
And that can be an intimidating thing. And you either have confidence in what you're saying or not. Yeah. And they can see that. Sure. They can see if it's pretend.
Absolutely. I remember I had one of our mutual friends, Pastor Jason Georges. He and I were on staff at a church together at one point, and we went to this meeting with a bunch of older pastors. And I'm like 23, 24 years old right now. I mean, in this setting, nobody cares what I have to say.
Right.
But I'm young and I'm ambitious and I want to be heard, and I'm like, I got to say something brilliant. And so when the times I felt like they were, I just kind of interjected.
Right.
And most of the time it just got completely dismissed.
Right.
And when we were headed back, and I noticed Pastor Jay didn't say anything. He was a couple years older than me even, but he was an associate pastor. He just didn't say anything. And on the way home, he's like, hey, why do you feel like you need to speak up? Do you think those guys have been doing it for 45 years? That's just an opportunity for you to learn. And he said, sometimes it's better to not be remembered than to be remembered for saying something stupid.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And that has lived with me.
That's a great
probably
quote.
One of the only quotes, that he said to me at that point that I really has stuck with me. And so a lot of times when I find myself in that setting, and I'm getting a little older now, and I find that people more value my opinion than they used to. But yeah, just if you don't have something that's brilliant, you don't have to say something. And I think confidence helps you realize I don't really have to say something right now.
Yeah. And when you're young, even if you're confident, you're trying to be remembered. You're trying to make an impact. You're trying to, and that comes across terrible to people, And so to have the confidence to just relax, and just be there. Yeah, that's very difficult as a young person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, the takeaway then would be, if you're listening to, wait for your moment, wait for your time. When you have something that really needs to be said and it can't be held back, and you have a platform and opportunity, then speak up. But don't feel like you have to say something just because you're at the table or you're in the room. Sometimes there's just an opportunity to learn. And so, a lot of our listeners are business owners, entrepreneurs, managers, and we've had a lot of feedback from those types. And so that's, I think, a lot of the people listening are that. So I want to transition into kind of that field. I think you have an entrepreneurial spirit. You've had a lot of side hustles over the years, a lot of different little things, and you still do.
Yeah.
So why do you think that confidence is so important to a business owner or to an entrepreneur or to someone that's managing people?
Well, if you're not confident, then those who work for you will end up leading you, because you're going to doubt your decisions, and inevitably there's going to be some young one who is arrogant, who has, or maybe even confident, that is going to end up leading you, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah.
You won't even realize that they're actually your boss.
Right.
And it quickly turns into that.
Right.
I think some of the biggest mistakes business owners make is promoting the wrong people.
Yeah.
For
sure.
You have to recognize positions and where they belong, where people belong. And when you lack that skill, it really can turn a whole company into a crumble. It just mess a whole company up.
No question.
Yeah.
And I think when you lack confidence, then sometimes you have intimidation of people that exude confidence.
Right.
And so then those people kind of get put by the wayside because you don't want them to outshine you or outdo you or take your job. And I always felt like when I was a manager, especially, like I want to work myself out of this job. I want to find the next up and comer so I can move to the next level. And even in my business today, like just before the podcast, I told our production guy, Zach, I was like, you need to be better than me at a few things. Like, I don't want you to be as good as me. Like, because he was joking that I'm getting better at this. And I was like, I want you to be better than me.
Right.
There's no intimidation for me if he gets better than me at video editing or producing. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want strong people around me. And I think if you lack confidence, it really inhibits your ability to develop other people because you put a ceiling on them so that they don't surpass you.
Absolutely. And in that instance, in business, confidence equals respect. Like, if they can tell if you don't have confidence.
Right.
I've worked for people that did not, and I didn't respect them.
You don't buy in.
And when you don't respect them, you don't care about showing up on time or doing good work.
Right.
You just, it's just how it works,
Right. So what do you think then are some keys to really getting this confidence? I mean, there's certainly people out there listening, and there are different types of confidence. I mean, there's self-confidence where you just believe in yourself.
Right.
And that's not the only type of confidence.
Right.
There's confidence in your ability.
Right.
Like, I'm really good with my hands, or I'm really good at a computer program, or I'm really good singer, or whatever. Like, you can have confidence, maybe not even 100% in yourself, but in an ability you have.
Yeah.
But certainly if you're running a business, if you're managing people, if you're an entrepreneur, you should have confidence in at least what you're doing.
Right.
And maybe you have a little bit of self-esteem issues, but at least believe in what you're doing. If not, you're going to fail.
Right.
But what do you think are some keys to really gaining confidence in yourself and your abilities?
Well, I mean, the absolute truth about an entrepreneur or an entrepreneurial spirit is you have to hustle. Like, you have to go. You have to want it.
Right.
I think it's Gary Vee that talks about if you're chasing the money, you'll never be happy.
Exactly. There's never enough.
Yeah, it's never going to work. So you have to love what you do, first of all. And so in order to garner confidence, when we talked about playing basketball together, when I first started playing, I was intimidated to play with the older guys or something like that.
Yeah.
But as my skill developed, my confidence developed because I put in the time. And so that's a large part of confidence in a business or a business idea or your ability is you need to be putting in the time, learn it, know it in and out, read about it, listen to podcasts on it, watch YouTube videos. What does that take?
There's so much information out there. Yeah.
What does it take to be an expert at that? Be an expert at something. When I ran for office, I worked for a congressman out of St. Louis up on Capitol Hill, and I asked him his advice when I was heading out. I was leaving him and running for office, and I told him, I said, how do you win? How do I win this? And he said, dominate one area.
Yeah.
I didn't take his advice. I wish I would have.
Yeah.
He said, dominate one area. If you want to put out signs, be the sign guy. You have more signs than anybody.
Right.
If you want to have a radio ad, be the radio guy. You have more radio ads than anybody. Dominate that area. Know that area. That's your area.
Right.
He's like, don't spread yourself so thin that you're not good at anything.
Sure.
And so I think that's the thing. People want to be good at so much, and it's like, hone in. What do you got? That's first of all. Second of all, the confidence, the two main types of confidence, though, is confidence in yourself and confidence in someone else.
Right.
And confidence in someone else is earned over time.
Yeah.
Like you can't just have confidence in someone you don't know,
right.
or lack of confidence is earned.
Right.
We know plenty of people who I would have no confidence in
for
them
sure.
at all.
Absolutely.
And they've earned that.
Yep.
And people earn your confidence or not your confidence. That's the same in yourself. It takes time to build your confidence if you don't have it naturally. Mm-hmm. And so little victories, learning and knowing things well will build your confidence in time, just like somebody else would with you.
Right. That's great advice. And I have 3 sons, as you know. Mm-hmm. They're all big basketball fans. And
mm-hmm.
so, we watch a lot of NBA basketball, NCAA basketball. And we were talking about this recently about NBA players, like what separates a LeBron James, a Kevin
mm-hmm.
Durant, a Kyrie Irving,
right.
these kind of upper echelon, Steph Curry,
right.
these upper echelon players. What separates them from the pack? Like what
mm-hmm.
makes them different? And it's certainly at that level, it's not just skill.
Right.
Because even the guy sitting on the end of the bench was like the best player on a Division I
Right,
college NCAA
Always
team.
Mr. Basketball and some. Yeah.
If you go watch the warm-ups of an NBA game, you watch the guy that you've never heard of come out, and he'll hit like 30 in a row.
Doesn't
like,
miss. Yeah.
They're so good. The
Yeah.
level at that the skill level at that level of basketball is so strong. And I told my boys, I said, what separates the super freak athletes is not just skill, although that's a part of it,
Right.
but it's confidence.
Yeah.
They have confidence. Confidence is such an important part of sports.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly, if you think about what you're doing, you don't believe the shot's going to go in, it doesn't. But I said, and then when you talk to those, or when you hear those, not when you talk to those guys, when you hear those guys talk on interviews, they just talk about the hours and hours of practice that they put in.
Yeah.
And so to me, one of the keys, and you kind of referred to it, of being confident in an ability or in yourself is put in the work, man.
Yeah.
There's no
Absolutely.
easy way out,
Right.
really. There's no
Right.
simple shortcut to success. You got to learn it. You got to understand it. Like you said, follow a podcast, watch a YouTube video, read some articles. And, we have so much access to information right now. There's nothing that you can't learn.
Yeah, I feel like I could be an expert in 1 year in anything.
Absolutely.
You know?
If I took 6 months to a year, I could become an expert. And I mean,
Yeah.
outside of like rocket science
Right,
or
right.
like brain surgery.
Right.
But like
2 years for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
18 months.
Yeah.
But I think that people just don't want to put in the work.
Yeah, I agree.
And so if you're out there and you're listening and you're struggling with confidence, I would say then, like he just said, the advice he got, become the best at something. Become great at one thing. Like, take the time to learn it. Don't get out ahead of yourself, and really commit yourself to doing the difficult things to learn something. And the more you become proficient in something, the more your confidence just grows.
Right.
Maybe you don't have natural confidence like a guy like Jeremiah, and a lot of people don't. It's a rare quality, and so, but it can be built by putting in the time and the effort and learning the things that you're doing. So, well, let's talk a little bit then about social media, because I think that social media has had such an impact in so many ways, but it's particularly in the business world and,
Sure.
and in entrepreneurship. I think that people gauge their performance by looking at everybody else.
Right.
And so maybe they're struggling with confidence, or maybe someone listening today is struggling with confidence because they want to start a coffee shop. But
Right.
they look at every other coffee shop on social media and
Yeah.
they think, I'm never going to be able to do that. Or they want to, start, they want to become a graphic designer, and they're like, I can't design that. And so I think social media tends to maybe hurt people's ability to believe in themselves because they don't think. You feel like that's a real thing, or what are your thoughts about that?
Oh man, I have so many friends that I've looked at their social media, and they're trying so hard to be an influencer, but I look at their social media and it's not working.
Right.
I'm like, it's not working for you, man. That's not you.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious not you.
Yeah.
And when people see that, you can tell.
Yeah.
When people are not,
Right.
that's not actually them.
When you're following the likes.
Yeah, exactly. I saw this video, and they're making fun of the social media game today. And this guy was proposing to this girl, and somebody was filming it from, behind a car or whatever.
Right.
Well, she didn't like how he surprised her, but then she watched the video. She didn't like how it went. And so,
Oh, no.
so she
I know
wanted it
where you're going.
redone
Oh,
and
my
everything.
goodness.
And
Reproduced.
it was a joke, but.
Yeah.
But the reality is she wanted it to look perfect.
Yeah.
And we miss out on actually authenticity completely. And so there's so many just non-authentic. And I get it, you have to get it out there. But when somebody takes a picture of their child or something, and then it's like 75 hashtags, hashtag dad life, hashtag mom life,
Hashtag baby model.
yeah, hashtag, yeah. And then it gets into weird time, weird things, hashtag sunset or something. You're like, that is not a son, that's your child. So
Right.
People see lack of authenticity there, where it's like you're kind of like using your child to try to get more likes and more popularity and everything like that. And the reality is I would see those same people who have 20,000 followers, and if they didn't throw a hashtag at their very next photo, they would probably get 25 likes because those people aren't actually following them.
Right.
They're just okay.
Yeah, and I think that people have in some way determined that the only way to have success, or the only way to be successful, is to make this false kind of image of themselves online, and they think that's kind of the key. And, you mentioned Gary Vee earlier. I like to follow Gary Vee.
Yeah,
but he
yeah.
always talks about don't chase the followers, don't chase the likes.
Right.
Put out good content that you believe
Exactly.
in, that you're, somebody had a quote recently that said, you could put a YouTube video out that literally cured cancer, and yet somebody that put a video of a cat playing the keyboard will get more views.
Right.
So just because your content isn't necessarily going viral, or it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing it. And just be true to yourself. Be true to who you are.
It breeds loyalty too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's absolutely. So let's just, at the end here, let's just talk a little bit about how confidence can set you apart from your competitors. What confidence in yourself, in your product, in your business model, in your management style, in your people. Let's talk about what that confidence can do to set you apart from your competitors. I think, to me, the number one thing that stands out is leadership. If you're going to lead any type of thing, and if you're an entrepreneur and you're starting a business, you're a leader.
Right.
You have to be.
Right.
Especially at the beginning. I mean, you can get to a point where maybe someday you can hire a CEO or someone that can run the day-to-day better, but you got to be a leader.
Yeah.
And so I think confidence breeds leadership. But what do you think are some of the other qualities that confidence would breed that would set you apart from your competitors?
I would say decision making is huge. Like if you don't have confidence, you're going to second guess every decision.
Yeah.
And if you're being an entrepreneur or you're leading a business, you can't second guess decisions once they've been. You just got to roll with it.
Yeah, and you might fail, but that's
you
all right.
might fail, and then but if you're confident, then you can say, "I failed.
I learned.
Yeah. Let's move on."
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of being a business owner. That's how it works. So, there's so many nuances to being confident that it affects so many parts of your life.
Yeah.
And there is nothing harder than working for a non-confident person.
Yeah.
I hate that. That is
Sure.
I've literally had a job, quit it in 2 days because that person was so self-conscious, and they couldn't just get out of their own mind.
Right.
And that's, to me, that'll cripple a business. And my belief is you either learn to develop confidence or you go back to your 9 to 5 because it's not yours. This isn't going to work for you.
Yeah, Michael Jordan used to say, "I've never lost.
Right.
I've either won or I learned."
Yeah, that's
so,
good.
I mean, there's a philosophy there that you're gonna mess up.
Yeah.
You're gonna come up with an idea that just didn't work.
Right.
It's gonna fail. That's right. Like you said, you ran for office, didn't win, but it led to other opportunities.
Best thing, honestly, I don't want. I'm out of the political realm.
Yeah.
I don't want anything. It just wasn't.
But you had to try it.
And if I would have won, I would be stuck in it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I can't leave this.
And today's world would not be fun.
I would hate it. Yeah, I lost all. I mean, working and understanding truly what goes on behind in the business world. In the political world. I wanted nothing. I was done with it, and I would have felt very stuck because what do you do? Leave in the middle of your term?
Yeah.
That's not easy. So that failure or perceived failure was the best thing that ever happened to me, and it led to open doors, and it led to a lot of calls, and I was choosing which congressman I wanted to work for.
Yeah.
They're asking me, and it led to such an amazing opportunity, and it led me to happiness in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Failure. And so embracing that and having the confidence to embrace it.
Yeah. Well, I think confidence gives you such an edge in so many things. I would encourage anybody listening today to figure out a way to become confident in what you're doing. Like I said, I think the biggest key is practice, learn, educate yourself.
Yep.
You don't have to necessarily go to college. There's a lot of education you can get online for free, but put in the time, put in the work. But man, confidence, like I said, it'll if you give you some leadership ability, it'll help you inspire confidence in other people. It will help you in putting yourself out there. A lot of times people are just afraid to put themselves out in a video or to put themselves out there an idea because somebody might think it's stupid or somebody might not like it. And listen, some people will think it's stupid.
Sure.
I don't know how many people have told me or questioned, why are you doing this podcast? It doesn't matter to me.
Haters are going to hate,
Haters are going to hate.
Yep,
but confidence will help you put yourself out there. It'll give you an executive presence. I mean, when you're in that board meeting or when you're in a room with clients, it'll give you the presence that you need to kind of close the deal. I think probably the biggest advantage of confidence to me, though, is self-awareness.
Yeah.
This is where confidence gets separated from arrogance.
Yeah.
Because I've been really focusing so much in the last few years about self-awareness, about
Mm-hmm.
understanding my strengths. What am I good at?
Mm-hmm.
And being confident in that,
Mm-hmm.
going after it and not apologizing for it. But then also being equally as aware of the things I'm not good at.
Right.
I always get so frustrated by people that think they are the best at everything.
Yeah.
They have to be the best at every single thing. Oh, I did that, or I can do that, or just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Number one. And you don't have to be the best at everything. And you shouldn't try to be the best at everything.
Yeah.
Be good at what you're good at. Focus on your strengths. And again, that's like the most basic leadership principle.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on your strengths, hide your weaknesses. But I think this idea of self-awareness is so important. And so if you're listening today, I think maybe the first step you should take, from my opinion, is look at yourself and maybe write down a list. What am I really good at?
Mm-hmm. I like that.
And then on the same paper, write down, what am I not good at? What do I not want to do? What do I not want to get better at? And understand those. And it doesn't mean you don't work on your weaknesses, but it means you have an understanding of them. You're equally as comfortable admitting both of those. And I think that will really, really
That's
help.
funny, because I was about to say something extremely similar. I was about to say, you know, if you could make a list of like 5 things that you're confident in,
Mm-hmm.
that you have that confidence in them, and then figure out why. Why do you have your confidence in those things? Is
Yeah.
it because it's been with you your whole life? Okay, well, that's breed loyalty to you. So that's how you gain confidence. And
Right.
if it's something that you just are naturally good at, or it's something that you really are into, so you've developed confidence in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then make a list of 5 things that you're not confident in.
Right.
And it's like, well, how can I then breed confidence in those things?
Absolutely.
You know, if you're chasing after, you know, something, but yeah, absolutely. Understand your weaknesses.
Right.
Understand what you're good at, what you're bad at. And if somebody else is better than you, give them props.
Give them props.
Have confidence to give
Latch
somebody
onto
props.
them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No question about it. Well, Jeremiah, at the end of all of this, you know, you do a lot of different things. Obviously, now you're pastoring, and I think that's probably your long-term plan. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of it all, what does success look like to Jeremiah Napier?
Yeah, success. Success to me is doing what you love. I don't care if it's paying you $25,000 a year or $250,000 a year.
Right.
It's doing what you love. And if you know, my dad always says this. Always have. My dad was an entrepreneur, very entrepreneurial.
Very
spirit.
much so.
Yeah, he has several rental houses. Always thinks outside the box. And but he always used to say, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
And that is the truth. Like, I love what I do, and I'm on vacation. I'm going up to the lake after the wedding and everything. You going up to the lake?
I'm going to try.
You're going to try making up
Play
there?
some golf.
Play some golf, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, going up to the lake, and, you know, I'm looking forward to vacation, but I'm kind of looking forward to getting back
Yeah.
and doing what I do.
Yeah.
And because I love it. And so success is doing what you love. If at the end of your life you look back and I actually had this. This is when I overturned my life and started doing what I wanted. I had what I call my Ebenezer moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about 4 a.m. one night, and I laid in bed, and I thought, when I'm 89, 90 years old, hopefully I can get that to that point. When I'm 80 years old and I look back on my life, will I be happy?
Right.
The route I'm going. And I thought, no, I won't be. And I call my Ebenezer moment because that's how Ebenezer Scrooge was. It wasn't until he saw death
Yeah.
and looked back on his life till he said, that's terrible. I can't.
Right.
I don't want that. So, mildly morbid, but look at that death moment and look back at your life right now and say, will I be happy? And I would do that often.
Yeah.
I do that often. Will I be happy with this? And if you're not going to be, blow it up.
Yeah.
Find happiness.
Do what makes you happy, for sure.
Absolutely.
I was up at the lake last week.
Yeah.
And I remember I was with my sister and brother-in-law,
Mm-hmm.
who are very, very hardworking people.
Mm-hmm.
But they were so dreading coming back.
Mhm.
I mean, even like 3 days before, they're like,
Yeah.
man, I don't want to go back on Monday. And I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm kind of ready to go.
Yeah.
I just don't, it wasn't like a big dread. But I remember having jobs
Yes.
where I literally did everything to get to Friday,
Mm-hmm.
just get a little relief for the weekend.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And they say 94% of Americans hate their job.
Yeah.
And so there's probably a lot of people out there in that, like they hate Mondays.
Mhm.
They live for Friday, and that's just not me. Like, to me, like, I get lose track of what day of the week it is because
Yeah.
I just enjoy doing
Absolutely.
what I do.
Yeah, I look forward to returning to my job, and I have a lot of respect for you, man. I remember when you started this whole thing, and it was a risk.
Yeah.
And, just looking around and seeing what you have going here and the joy that it brings you, you found your stride, and that's evident.
Yeah.
And people will see when you find your stride.
Sure.
You
Well,
know?
I appreciate that. I mean, to me, I wouldn't rather be doing anything right now. And I would never have thought I would be doing this. But it gives me the freedom to be able to be with my family, coach my kids. I get to be very involved in ministry at my church, which is something I'm very passionate about. And I left a really high-paying job.
Yeah.
And I still don't make as much money as I did when I had left that job personally.
Yeah.
And
I don't either.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've had some really big job offers
Sure.
that just weren't even hard for me to turn down because I just love doing what I couldn't imagine going back to doing something else. I really just enjoy
Life's
it.
too short, man.
Yeah. So Jeremiah, to end our podcast here today, I always ask my guests this question, but what is Jeremiah Napier's best piece of advice? It doesn't have to be about confidence. It can be, but you get to give a person one piece of advice, your child, somebody. What's your best piece of advice?
Yeah, I mean, in the entrepreneurial spirit, my best, just don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Everyone's so afraid to just fail that they don't take a risk. So they live, but they don't actually live. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They kind of exist. Are you existing or are you living? And the ones who are afraid to fail, they just exist.
They just exist.
They just exist.
Yeah.
So I would say just don't be afraid to fail. I mean, worst case scenario, you got to figure out a new struggle.
Right.
And
failure is part of the ingredients to success.
it is.
It really is. It's going to be part of it. You're going to fail, and probably going to fail more times than you win.
Oh yeah.
But that's all right.
Yeah.
That's right. There's a verse in the Bible that says a just man falls 7 times and rises up again.
Yeah.
So fall down, but get back up.
Sure.
That's what a fighter does.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jeremiah, thank you so much for being on the show today. We've really enjoyed our time. I know you and I could talk for hours,
Yeah.
but we'll give our guests a little bit of a break here. But if somebody wanted to follow Jeremiah Napier or learn more, you have an Instagram channel. What's on the grill?
Yeah. What's on the grill? Yeah.
So if someone wanted to get a hold of you or find out more about Jeremiah Napier, how could they get a hold of you?
Yeah, it's Jeremiah Napier. Is just my Instagram handle, just Jeremiah Napier, and then
Jeremiah cooks some interesting things on the grill. Not interesting, good things. You're gonna get hungry watching it, but he always makes a little fun twist to it.
Yeah.
And that's just something he kind of started doing for fun. But he's got a nice little audience. So
I like cooking shows, so it's something I just kind of came up with. So yeah.
So again, thank you for being on the show. If you're out there today and you're struggling with confidence, I hope you take to heed the advice you heard today. Practice, get better, get some education, learn how to do it. Don't be afraid of failure. Do something that you're happy about. All these things will help build your confidence. As my mother always said to me, you can't and never could until you tried. So get out there and try something great, my friends, and don't take the easy way out. We'll see you next time.
Hey guys, if you like what you saw today, please like and subscribe for more content.